Good day. I am Karen Walstra, an independent educational consultant, and I've been asked again to share today. The topic we are looking at today is how to keep children busy when they can't go anywhere. This is a really big topic, so let's explore the different questions. Question 1. Please tell us about the challenges parents may face when they are schooling from home, when it comes to keeping children busy. Well, first of all, as parents, I don't think we should always be keeping our children busy. We should be teaching them how to keep themselves busy, teaching them to use the things around the house that they can experiment and explore with. But in times like this, there are lots of different challenges. Parents are trying to do their work or just general housework around the house or general chores to keep the house functioning, and at the same time having children there all the time. So tripping over one's feet on top of each other is really, really difficult. If children are doing schoolwork from home, they might have to share a device, and there might only be one device in the family to share. So it's how do you then use it? Parents might need it for their work and children need it for school. And so it might be having the discussion with the school around we can only use this device for a certain amount of time. Children and parents might not understand the instructions from the teachers, so there might be frustration around that as to what needs to be done. So there might be pressure also if there are time frames put on activities by the teachers to say that tasks need to be done and trying to fit this into a difficult space at home. If parents don't have the internet, children might be angry that they can't get to schoolwork. And then it would be finding perhaps TV channels that children are able to get some information and do some form of learning. If it's older children in this kind of space, they might be really frustrated and angry and worried about what's going to happen to them and their schooling, and are they losing out? There might also be anger and worry in terms of not being able to get hold of the teacher and asking the teacher for information. It's a very difficult time. The children might be upset, might be frustrated, and so might the parents be. So in this very difficult time, we need to learn how to cope, where we are all cooped up and we aren't able to go anywhere. Children might be missing their school friends. They might be moody and angry. So how do we help? Let's try to remain calm. Let's try to be patient, and let's try to make the best of the situation. Question 2. What sorts of activities can children do at home? Well, there are lots of things that can be done at home. And I think that we should start off by not going out to buy other things, but actually using what's in the home already. What are the resources that you've got that the children can use? I think the key to making everybody function and cope in the space is having a routine. If everybody knows that in the morning we're all going to get up at a similar time, that there's a breakfast time where you eat together, where you might help prepare the meals, the children and the adults, and clearing up afterwards, and then there's a work period of time, so an activity time, whether it means that parents and children are doing work, or that some children are doing work and others have a time to relax. That depends on your family. Plan and make it suitable for your family. Decide how you're going to get that to work, that it's not everybody needs to do the same thing at the same time. If you are working and they're little children, perhaps don't work for more than 20 or 40 minutes and then have a break. Maybe during that break time, they play a quick game, that they stretch their eyes and do things like I Spy, but using things outside the windows, so that their eyes get a break from devices. They then might go back into an activity time and then have another break. Plan your days to suit your families. Teenagers and older children might want to sleep in later during the day and actually do their schoolwork and work in the afternoons and the evenings. Perhaps with little children, you might want to do those early in the morning and then give time for them to have a break later in the day. Whatever you decide, there's no wrong answer. Decide what suits your family best. So make it suit you. Question 3. What can a child with no siblings and no one to play with do to keep them busy? Well, in this instance, this child is not unfamiliar with being by themselves. So only children are used to it in some ways. But it's how you engage with them. Do not suddenly mollycoddle them and decide that you need to do everything for them. Try and keep the situation as normal as possible. Do some things by themselves and some things with you, just like you would when there's no coronavirus. Do things like you would where you're telling a story or where you're talking to each other or having time where you play a game together, but also give time where the child will be doing things on their own. Question 4. Are TV or computer or cell phone games advisable when children are schooling from home? Well, what does the schooling from home look like? Not all the schooling from home is on devices. And there are lots and lots of really good educational websites, apps, and things that the children could be using. So for me, there are positives and there are negatives, always in terms of using devices or not using devices. And a good rule of thumb is keep everything in moderation. Do not spend the whole day on a device or the whole day in front of television, but plan and decide what you're going to do. If you don't have a smartphone or a tablet type device, then look for educational resources on your television. Where are the channels that are educational? What time are they? And use them to have a look at. If you've got access to the internet, perhaps look at YouTube and use things such as the SABC's educational channel over there. There are other educational kinds of spaces on YouTube as well. Explore the topics and see what's there. If you've got a little child, then what about using YouTube Kids so that you don't have to monitor them and you know that the resources are age appropriate. If you've got the internet, hop onto the government website, education.gov.za, and there they've got a range of different resources that you would be able to use for school. So it doesn't just have to be that you're playing games that are not age appropriate or that are not educational. Choose things that are appropriate. As a parent, oversee it. Be aware of age restrictions and get the children to use things that could be fun. There are some apps that I think that are really great. So the one I want to show you today is a reading app, and it's called Bolo. Bolo is a newish app, and it has about 20 stories that are written by South African authors. So when you go into the app, you would choose your story and you would read to the app. What the app then does is it listens and responds, and it actually helps the child to begin to read. So it's a wonderful app to use with your children. I'm afraid it's only on Android, but it's a really good app. And the stories are written by South African authors. Another one to look at is Google's Arts and Culture. It looks like this. If you are interested in history or geography or the arts, this is a really cool space. There is information from museums and art galleries around the world. But there are also fun activities that you can go in. So you could go in and look at How does it relate to different colors? Or how do you actually play with art using your phone? And then there are cool features where you can actually take a selfie over here, and it will find the artworks that look like you. When your camera takes a picture, it then finds them that look like you. This could be a fun way of getting your child to research some art. Go and have a look at that app, Google Arts and Culture. The other one I want to share with you is Google Expeditions. It looks like this. Google Expeditions has more than 900 different expeditions in a range of topics. It is AR and VR, so augmented reality and virtual reality. The AR ones you could easily play at home without goggles. The VR ones you could also look at even if you don't have the goggles. And what you would do with those is just look at the 360 pictures. Go in there and look for topics around schoolwork or just things that the family is chatting about. When you found the ones you want, you go into your library and they are saved over there. So you would click on your library and the ones that you've saved now live in your library. It's another interesting resource that you could use. So find resources that are useful for you. Find things that will, where the children are playing on devices, that it's meaningful, that it doesn't just have to be games which are just for fun. But the educational things can be lots of fun. Find those ones, explore them, and engage with your children. Question 5. What time is best to keep children busy when they are not doing their schoolwork? Well, again, I think it goes back to your routine. What is your family routine? When are you giving your children time not to do schoolwork? Or when are your children deciding that they want a break? It all depends on you as a family. What best suits you? There is no one size fits all. It is definitely making sure that everybody is comfortable. We definitely do need breaks and should not be working all the time. Decide when it suits you. Question 6. What sort of activities stimulate the children's brains when playing or keeping busy? Well, I'm a design and technology teacher, and for years I've taught children to problem solve and to get them to think. So I think that the best kinds of activities are where we're getting children to be creative, to solve problems, and to make themselves actually come up with workable solutions. So think of the things around the house that the children could be doing to be creative. What about getting your children to draw pictures or to make a painting? Or what if the family gets together and writes a play and then acts it out? What if you get your children to create a poem or come up with a song and then present it to everybody else? What about getting children to think about things that they could invent or make with things that are around the house? So getting them to build things or to investigate things. Getting children to be involved. Getting them to think and solve problems. What about getting them to play games such as noughts and crosses, where they've got to work out who is the winner and come up with solving the problem as to how do they actually beat their opponent? Or general knowledge, where you've got a range of topics and you have to find the answers to all the different categories depending on the letter that's selected. Get children to think and play, sometimes by themselves, sometimes with other family members. But getting them to think and to work is really important, and have lots of fun when you're doing that. Question 7. Question 7. What advice would you give to parents when they plan activities for their children? Well, I think we shouldn't be spending money. I think we should be looking at things that are around the house that we could be using. So again, I go back to, what about doing the noughts and crosses? Or that we could be using. Question 7. What advice would you give to parents when they plan activities for their children? Well, I think that we should not be spending money. I think we should be getting children to be doing activities with things that are around the house. So again, I go back to, what about the noughts and crosses? Or what about playing a game of maraba rubber? So that you are using things that are easily available at home, getting them to be involved in those activities. What about saying to them, we're going to have an indoor picnic and you're going to have that just on the lounge floor? So who would set it up? What about if they help to prepare it? Or what about getting them to, if they're little children, to build a little house with the blankets and things that they could then play in during the day? Or if you've got an empty box, maybe that becomes a car or a castle. So using resources that are available. But I don't think we should always be planning the activities. I think we should put things there that children could use, things that maybe are recyclable, or the waste from other items, or pens and paper, and let the children decide what they want to do. As parents, we shouldn't have to be doing everything for them. We should be encouraging them to be thinking. We should be encouraging the children to come up with their own ideas. Just put the items there and let them play. Question 8. Please share anything else that you think is best to share. Well, I think at this time there is lots of anger and frustration and sadness in many homes. There is also a great amount of worry. So I think that we should find times when we can be happy, times when we can talk about things that we remember that were fun, that we should make each other laugh, and that we should have a really good time in this difficult situation. Find the things that can keep us happy. Depending on the age of your children, the activities, the routines, and the things would vary. But put the power in your children's hands, that you don't have to do everything, that they can come up with their own ideas. Let them think about it. Let them plan the routines and things with you. Make it family activities. Let everybody work together. Thank you for letting me share with you. I am Karen Walstra, and my information can be found on my website called Evolve School. So that's at www.evolveschool.co.za. I'm on Twitter at Karen Walstra. On Instagram, I have a page called Evolve Schools. On Facebook, there is also an Evolve School page. And I can be reached at Facebook and on LinkedIn at Karen Peterson Walstra. Thank you again. Have a good day.